This is the Pixel 7a, and it's quite a departure from the Samsung S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Or is it? We need to talk, because this phone clocks in at about $500, which basically makes this a mid-tier phone. But is it even a good phone? Is it worth buying in 2023? In this video, we're gonna look at all of that and more. Look, I'm not gonna talk about specs and everything like that, but we're gonna talk about actual real-world usage and my experience using this phone. Let's get into it. Look, I'm gonna say it, the bezels on this thing takes me immediately back to 1999. When I initially looked at this phone, I was like, yeah, those bezels are a little too big. I do have good news for you. After you actually start using it, after I started using it throughout the day, you get over it. I didn't really notice it as much going forward, and for the rest of the week, I was totally fine. That shock initially hits you, and then you kind of get over it. But other than that, you could have easily fooled me, because apparently, this is plastic. I had no idea, to be quite honest. I literally got this phone and I thought it was glass like every other Pixel that I've used, or pretty much most other phones I've used. I had zero idea. I had to look it up online and I was like, holy crap, this is plastic? You can't tell. And also look, can we take a second here to appreciate this color? I honestly think it's one of the best colors on a phone. It kind of reminds me of the Pacific blue on the iPhones, but a much nicer shade in my opinion. This is really nice, and I think Pixel knocked it out of the park with this color. Now, in terms of the size, the fit and finish, everything feels like the usual Pixel experience. And that's a good thing, because I think Pixels have generally done a really great job in figuring out how people like holding their phones. The screens aren't too curved on the sides where it starts interfering with your usage experience. The sides are a little bit nice and rounded so it feels good in your hand. Also, the size. I actually think this is the perfect size for a phone. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's the perfect size for somebody like me who has small hands. And you know what they say about small hands? They like smaller phones. As for the screen, funny story here. I don't know why on earth Google turned off 90 Hz display on a phone, which, by the way, very impressive to have a 90 Hz display on a mid-tier phone like this. But I remember turning this on and immediately thinking, holy crap, this is choppy. Like, I went from like my S23 and my iPhone 14 Pro Max to a 60 Hz screen, and it was jarring. Thankfully, I looked through the menu and I found out that the 90 Hz smooth display was actually turned off, and the moment I turned it on, we were cooking. Like guys, I can't stress this enough. I can't do 60 Hz panels anymore. 120 Hz, amazing, but 90 Hz, it checks out. Other than that, the screen, it's fine. It doesn't pop like its more premium competitors. Honestly, it does the job. And the viewing angles on this are a bit lacking, but come on, like, do we really care about that? Like, who's looking at their phone like from the side anyways? Like, you're usually looking at your phone like up front. So do we really care about viewing angles? I don't know. Maybe you're a side viewer guy. Okay, now let's get into where the Pixel 7a actually shines, which is the software. The entire experience is not different compared to the more expensive or the premium versions of this phone, which is the Pixel 7 and the 7 Pro. Considering that the A series is technically their budget series, I love that Google didn't make it feel budget. It's also got the exact same processor, the Tensor G2 chip and everything from the premium versions of this phone, which allows this to keep up with pretty much everything you throw at it. Everything is super snappy, the apps are quick to open, close, and switch between. Okay, now I quickly want to touch on the features. Let's talk about charging and battery and stuff. Now, out of the box, you don't get a charging brick as usual, so you might want to pick something up. Now, if you're wondering what to pick up, conveniently enough, they are also the sponsor of today's video, UGreen. Now look, usually the chargers that we get in the box of OEM products, they're no good. They're super limited, usually pretty big with smaller wattages, and they only have one port. Not only are these significantly smaller and include the same, if not more wattage than what we get from OEM products out of the box, but you also get multiple ports here, which means you only need to carry one brick for multiple products. So the reason to pick one of these up is the size to wattage ratio. Using GaN technology, UGreen is able to fit a lot more wattage inside a much smaller package. For example, this one is the UGreen Nexode 65 watt charger. Like, this little thing has 65 watts pushing out of this. If you want to pick up any one of these, they come in several different versions, like this mini 30 watt charger, a 45 watt charger, a 65 watt charger, and a 100 watt charger. I'm gonna have them linked in the description down below. Make sure you guys go ahead and check it out. Now, both the Pixel 7a as well as the Pixel 7 both have the same size battery. I was able to get through a full day without any issues, and my experience was pretty much similar across the board. But on days where you do need to charge up in the middle of the day, maybe you have a power user day, that's where you'll notice some of the drawbacks of the A series. I'm somebody who loves using wireless charging. It's like my main go-to, and unfortunately wireless charging on the Pixel 7a is limited to 7.5 watts versus the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro you get 20 and 23 watts respectively. That's a big difference. Now, this doesn't really change your quality of life if all you're doing is placing it on a wireless charger overnight, but if you want a quick charge throughout the day, then you're better off just plugging this guy in, which is also still going to be a little bit slower, capped at about 18 watts. Also, one thing that I did notice was the haptics are quite good for a mid-range phone. Now, that's something that I always notice on phones, and I personally think it's one of the determining factors of my user experience of a phone. I need the haptics to be quite good. I really think people underappreciate how important that is. Next, let's talk about the camera. This is one of the reasons why I've always loved the Pixel lineup. They've generally done a great job with cameras overall. Now, with the Pixel 7a, Google brought in a new 64 megapixel sensor with a 13 megapixel ultra wide and a 13 megapixel selfie camera. Now, hold up, 64 megapixels. You're probably thinking, Tausif, that's even higher than the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro, which only have 50 megapixels. So what's going on here? Are you telling me their budget lineup phone has a better camera than the more expensive premium versions? This is where I have to remind you guys, it's not about the megapixels. It's a common marketing gimmick that a lot of companies use, and they just increase the megapixels and they're like, oh, this is the most megapixels you can find in a camera. But what you gotta remember is megapixels does not equal quality. It's actually more important to have a larger sensor size, which the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro do. And the sensor size being larger on the more premium versions of the Pixel means that you're gonna get better low light shots, you're gonna get generally a bit more bokeh, giving you that nice blurry depth of field and just an overall better experience using that camera. But for those looking at the Pixel 7a, I got good news for you as well. If you place them side by side, you are going to be hard pressed to notice any difference. You won't be able to pinpoint which one is which, and that's amazing considering the price difference on these phones. Photos coming out of this thing in typical Pixel fashion, the photos pop, they're more contrasty, and especially for someone who doesn't really want to do any edits or any work on the photos afterwards, they just want to click the photo and share it with their friends and family, it's great. As for the selfie camera, it's also great, but it still over sharpens a little bit. Too much for my taste, as you can see in some of the examples on the screen. As for the videos, this is where it gets a little more shakier. I definitely prefer the camera features to the video features. The dynamic range is okay, but there is noise in the darker parts of the video, which is quite noticeable, and I also found the overall quality just to be all right. I also did notice some distortion on the wide angle lens, so that's something to keep in mind, but the phone can do 4K 60, which is great. Not a lot of phones in this price range can do that. However, keep in mind, this only works with the main camera. The other two lenses can't do it, which is weird because the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro both have the exact same processor, but their lenses can support 4K 60. So I don't know why. Maybe they're just trying to differentiate their budget model, so they just didn't include it. Or maybe we're gonna see it in a software update down the road, but who knows? I know it's definitely capable of it. Just yet to be seen if Google brings it. All that said and done, Tausif, what was your actual experience using this phone? There are two main things that kind of annoyed me when I switched over from the iPhone to the S23 or the Pixel. And these are not like qualms with the actual Android phones, but more so just the platforms. Number one is actually the difference in apps. There's some apps that are absolutely integral to my business and my daily life, which aren't available on Google, which I don't know why. So this is more so the app's fault, but like things like Superhuman Email or Things 3, like these are both apps that I use and that are so integral to me, but they're not available on Android, so that kind of sucks. I had to kind of just default to using email on my iPad or my Mac. Second big annoyance is emojis. Like, can we do something here, guys? Like, it's ridiculous. Y'all seeing this? Is this like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, I can't. Overall, my experience going to the Pixel 7a has been pleasantly surprising. Having only used premium level devices for quite some time now, it was actually refreshing to move over to the mid-range devices, and surprisingly there wasn't that huge of a difference. You see, back in the day, sure, going from mid-range to premium, there was quite a bit of a gap. You would get significantly better camera, significantly better processing power, but nowadays, like my experience going to the Pixel 7a, like I didn't feel like I was missing too much of like the premium device category phones, or even the Pixel 7 or 7 Pro. My quality of life using this phone for the past week and a half hasn't really changed that much, which is fantastic because this is just a quarter of the price compared to some of the premium big brothers. Okay, so overall, what is my verdict and experience on this phone? Look, if you guys are in the market right now and you don't mind used phones or you don't mind older phones, the Pixel 7 might actually be a better buy than this. Pixel 7 has more capable cameras, faster wireless charging, better haptics, a better speaker system. It actually has a glass body design, has thinner bezels, and you could likely find it on the market in the $500 to $550 range because those phones go on sale all the time, especially through carriers. So my thinking is, might be able to get the Pixel 7 for maybe just like 50 or 100 bucks more than what you can pick this guy up for, but I'm also pretty confident that give it like a month or two, this thing is going to go on sale as well, and you'll be able to get this even cheaper through carriers or on the third-party market. But if you're looking to pick up a brand new device and is a great mid-range level category phone that you won't miss out on pretty much most of the premium features that you're getting from its bigger brother, then the Pixel 7a is a fantastic phone. I think Google's done a solid job with their Pixel lineup, and excited to see what they have in store. Now, if you found this video useful and you're thinking, Tausif, your day in the life, you're working quite a bit, what kind of apps do you use and how do you stay productive? Then you might want to check out this video. Or if you're curious, Tausif, what's in your everyday carry bag? Then go ahead and check out this video. Also one of my favorite videos, by the way, that I've made, so I'll see you guys there.